Hey guys, I have a mask on right now because it's COVID, but also because yesterday or a couple days ago, I got this skin thing frozen off on my nose and it's currently in that looks super disgusting phase. So I'm not showing it to you guys until it gets a little better. I want to walk you through this painting right here. I've got a practice one underneath that I did first. A lot of wet and wet of this fox, something a little different. And so yeah, whether you're wanting to paint along or just watch the process, hope you enjoy it and let me know what you think at the end.
Right, so first things first, I'll explain kind of my idea behind this painting. So I had this kind of image in my head of this fox's head, so this is my practice picture that I did here that we're kind of going to use, and hopefully the goal is always that your second try comes out looking better. That has not always been the case when I do it, so hopefully that'll be the case today. If not, boom, we've got this one. So I just had this image in my mind of basically this fox's head being really defined, kind of the way that I might normally paint with, clear edges and everything. And then having the whole rest of its body just be really soft, kind of wet and kind of undefined. And it worked out pretty well. It bled a little more in some places than I had wanted, and the tail isn't, because the end of a fox's tail is white. I wasn't quite sure what to do with that. We might actually go a slightly lighter color of this and put that at the end or something. So we'll kind of see once we get to that part. So really, as far as a sketch goes, the only part that we need, I'm going to try to do this. I tried not to do this super dark because I want it to fade away, but I'm going to try. Oh yeah, you can see that. Try to do it as dark as possible for the video. So its ear, and then down towards the head, the nose, kind of a little nose here. Oop. Then we have its mouth, kind of like that, and its chin. And then it kind of goes into this white. So the rest of it, I'm not actually gonna draw any of the rest, because we'll kind of let the paint do the talking in that case. Just have a little bit of a mistake here. Oh, and the eye, obviously. I almost thought of just doing the eyes and just having the rest soft, which I think would be a super cool thing to try sometime, but not this time. So we want the eye. It's kind of this like triangle shape a bit. And then inside there we've got the pupil, or the actual eye, I guess, I mean. Okay, that eye turned out bigger, I think, than practice one, but maybe that's fine. And that ear is pretty big. Just make that a little smaller. And this is going to be dark. So all this area in here we will do. It'll be, detailed. And then the rest will be very loose. Let me just... This is the kind of thing that when you're doing a practice, you're just like, oh, well, it's fine. And it actually turns out well. And then suddenly when it's the real deal, you rethink everything and rethink the proportions. Okay, and I'll leave it. Okay, so there's the head. Everything else doing light and loose. So we're gonna have to work quite quickly once we get going. So there's some erasings and whatnot, getting that out of the way. And I will explain what I did and what I'm using before I get started. So I'm primarily using two brushes. You don't need something as big as this. This is just, it's the brush so that I can get the most water out at once and not have to worry about going over multiple times. So what I'm gonna do is, like, the first thing we're gonna do is a little bit of some fur on the back here. Kind of has a white space like we see here, right, running down its neck. I'm gonna do this slightly darker. That's white, but it's just kind of in shadow, and it's not pertinent. None of the foxes kind of, I don't know what you call that, coat is like perfectly white. So I'll do a little bit of that. I'll probably do some of that same color on the tail this time. And then I might try to keep it a little lighter here, but honestly I kind of like, oh, you can see that I put some of that darker color on the tail. I don't know if you can tell, but it is a darker color than this. So wet this brush. I'm gonna then go like that and kind of get that whole area. Then I'm gonna have this brush with the actual color, which I'm gonna be mixing up an orange using my Hansa Yellow Medium and this, I think it's Pyrrole Scarlet. So I'll be mixing up between those two. You can see I have some, and then there's kind of my brown color. When I get to the brown color, I don't remember what I did. I think I just put some raw umber in, and I may have actually put some yellow ochre in, I think, as well. So then I'll be using this brush to put the paint in, and then again, you know, keeping this one for clean water, kind of going down this side of the body where you can see here, and then using this brush to put the paint in again, wetting kind of just before I touch that area. Then when that's all kind of dry, this was kind of an afterthought, and I still don't know how I feel about it. I think it's nice because there's some white spots on the head that weren't standing out against the white paper, so that's why I did it. I just haven't decided if I want kind of a soft edge around the outside. I kind of like this look, so I might just do that again. So if you're using a straight orange, you know, if you don't want to mix up an orange, I prefer mixing in general, and I don't actually have an orange, like just a straight orange. So I'm spraying down my paints to loosen them up a little, and I'm gonna get my orange ready to go, because once the area is wet, then you're working against time with the drying, and it's gonna mix a very vibrant orange. And the thing is, you want to mix enough. I don't want to be doing this while the water is drying, so I need to mix enough that it's ready to go. Now, the other thing, which honestly I'm not exactly sure what the best way to do this is, you need the paint to be thick enough to stay and show, but thin enough, like if it's too thick it won't bleed like that. So it needs to be watery, but not so watery that it just runs everywhere. And last time I kind of got that, I feel like a decent in between. Okay, so I've got quite a bit of orange here. I'm just going to put a little more yellow in. Okay, and that is ready to go. That's probably a decent thickness. We'll see. So now I'm dipping into my no longer clean water, but whatever, it's cleanish. And I'm going to do this part right. I'm going to keep it soft right up to here. And I'm going to go all the way along here. I don't know if you can, oh yeah, you can see that on the camera. Okay, and I needed wet enough of it. Now I'm using arches, so it really holds wetness quite a while, so I need to actually like almost wet it more than I did on that sketch paper. Okay, so I have that done. Now I'm gonna go like this and just let that bleed. What I think I did the last time is I touched this to let that bleed up towards the head. That is nice. All right, now we just repeat that process here. So we're gonna go around the head. Ooh, you can see there's some orange in there, which you don't really want. I'm gonna try to get that clean. It's because I touched that top orange bit. So, and we're going here, here, down the body, and I'm going to do the tail space right now as I'm at it. So there's the tail. Okay, that's all wet. And then we just kind of have to police it. If it starts to bleed where we don't want it, we will have to deal with that. So this kind of goes down here. Now, in the actual, this part, I'd like it to be a little lighter. That did not really work. That's fine. Okay, and then the tail, we're going this way. That way. And like I said, we're going to try to, so now I'm going to take this orange, adding in some brown, because we'll try to add right in here Still, oh, it's kind of getting a little dry. Try to wet this space without touching much. Okay. Add some in there. And then try to add some dark brown here. Okay. It's bleeding quite a bit down at the bottom. So I'm just cleaning off my brush because you can kind of see, I don't know, yeah, you can see that in the camera, that there's kind of a brown area there, and I don't really want that pooling brownness, so I'm gonna clean that up. It's much more vibrant than there, but it will dry, so we'll see how it ends up looking when we're done. And I might just touch this, because that's a hard edge here. Touch that area. Oh, kind of like that. Bring some of that slightly stained color down. What I'm not crazy about, see how this bled back up? Oh, there we go. Gone. All right. I'm gonna let this dry now and off camera, and then we will have a look at what we have and get into doing the head. All right, you guys, so this is dry now. I went and did some dishes and, you know, got some stuff done that needed to get done. So we're gonna move on to the face. It has dried really different. Like, this is so much more vibrant than that, but I almost like that better. I don't know. You guys can let me know in the comments, I guess, which one you like better. I won't be offended either way. So I'm gonna probably give this another spray. So I'm dipping out of that same orange. I might need to clean it up because I put some brown in there. And we will go through a series of different spots on the face. So yeah, I will get some new orange going on here. The red is like so strong. The instant I put it in, then it's crazy red. I'm using a big brush for now. I'll probably switch to a little one at some point as well. So we are going to go in here. I just throwing stuff on the ground. Realized I need a rag, which I don't have, but I do have a paper towel sitting here, and I'm pretty sure that paper towel had a little smudge of black on it because that's what I now have on my brush. So, gonna leave a little bit of white in there. Do orange along there. Around the eye. Leave a little white spot there, come up here. I like this really light kind of orange color, although it is, let's put a little more vibrant orange in a couple spots. Go down here. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, so I have this blue, I just had it left over from another painting. I'm just taking a bit of this and mixing it in with the blue, but you could get your own blue, and all that's going to do is just kind of gray up that color, and then you can see like it has a blue tinge down here. I'm just using that for the shadowed. Ooh, went where I did not want to. All the way down here. I'm going to switch to a small brush because I don't want to do that again. So I'm just using that for the shadowed area down there. And I'm going to close up, although I kind of like that white. It's like, just maybe a little too much. Okay, I'll come back again to do some black and stuff. So I'm going to, at this point, I'll put a dab of orange back in here. This is kind of a dark orange from a spot that I had. So now I'm going to, in this one I just use black. I don't think I mixed a black, but I'm going to mix a black this time. Let me just spray this down one more time. So I'm going to mix up a black just so that they're more earthy tones, and also so that there's more harmony, because I've used some of this blue in the fox's shadow already, and so I feel like the more you stick with colors that you've already used, the more color harmony there will be in the painting in general. So for this black, I'm just mixing burnt sienna and ultramarine, really thick black. Okay, I'm going to start here because this is the darkest spot, and then as we water this mix down, I'll do the other ear because the other ear is a little lighter. So I'm coming down to here. Okay. Now anything, before I go and water this mix down, I'm going to do anything that needs really thick dark black. So the eye, for example, going that way. Although, I should have put in the kind of the yellowy color in there first, so I'm not going to go any further with that eye. I'll go to the edge, but I don't want to deal with the actual eye part, so I'll do the nose. Top is a little lighter. You know what, I think it's just time to lighten this mix up and just deal with the light parts. So I've just put a little more water in so it's a little more like of a gray, and I'm going to do this ear. Okay, and now I'm going to do kind of around that part. I think that's perfect. Just going to leave that exactly the way it is. Now I need to deal with this eye before I forget. So I'm going to put in actually some yellow ochre, which is close to the yellow that we've already used. It has a slightly more earthy tone. And I'm just doing the bottom of the eye, like that, and leaving a bit of a white space on the top of the eye for like a shine. Same thing that I did on the nose there. You can kind of see I left a little bit at the top. I might be in the way here. I hope I'm not. Okay. So we'll let that dry. Now the mouth, I don't know how I felt about that mouth. In some ways I wish that it had been a little softer, which we can achieve. So, but I might screw it up and it might be horrible. But hey, gotta try it. So what I'm doing is I'm cleaning off my brush, although the problem is this water is crazy orange, so that cleaning idea is not really working. But whatever, it's like cleanish, and I'm just gonna go over the area of the mouth so that's wet. And now I'm gonna go back in here. I actually have some, no, that's definitely too watery, so I have to mix up a little more black again. Ultramarine and burnt sienna. If you wanted to just use a premix black, go ahead. Like I said, I think that I use premix on the, well, I use Payne's Gray on the practice one there. So, I mean, that's kind of what that looks like. So now this is slightly damp, and I'm just going to go, oh yeah, I like that. Right in here. Okay, perfect. I actually really like that. Now I'm just going to water that mix down. Try not to make a horrible mess of this, because I just want a little more shadow under the chin down here. and I don't like how those two things are meeting up. So I'm just drying my brush off, and I'm going to try to lift out a strip between like that. Perfecto. Okay, we're really getting pretty close to being done, besides the kind of the background area. I'm gonna take this, so again, this gray, we're gonna put a splotch in here with the ear, just kind of keep it jaggedy and messy because it's all kind of floofy. Yeah, we still have the eye to do, and I'd like to put in a little bit more of this dark orange. So I just have some orange left over. You can see here, orange, and then I'm going to put in a little bit of brown. And I'm going to put this in some areas in here. Now, I want this to have a softer edge, so I'm just gonna, with a wet brush, touch that. Okay, and then maybe a little more here. So I'm just kind of going through and wetting. I don't want these to be really hard edges, so I'm just trying to like have some darks, but wet the edges between so they don't stand out crazy. That's actually quite nice. Now, that's a little damp, so I don't want to go in right away. I'm just touching up a couple spots here. Okay. So I will mix up again a black for the eye while it dries. So burnt sienna, ultramarine. Trying to keep it pretty thick because I want to pretty much draw with it. I don't want it to bleed very much. And I'm just going to go here, here. Take that all the way down. Pupil. And then there's a little bit, but not a ton, so I'm just gonna like dampen my, or dab my brush on a rag. Just get some of that off. And it's quite nice. Quite nice. And I'm gonna do one last darky spot. Just go in here. Wow, that was very dark. Now I'm going to have to wet my brush and pull a lot of that off. All right. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. Lots of detail in here, right? Nice and soft. I'm pretty much not going to touch the rest of the fox. So now we're going to do the background, and what I did for that is just burnt umber, so you can use some sort of a brown. I'm just putting it in right where the orange was, because may as well. It's going to have a slight orange tinge. And I feel like, I can't remember what I did with that, if I put in a little bit of blue or if I just left it brown. I played around with the idea because I thought, you know, complementary colors, obviously to orange would be blue, so should I be using that? But I liked kind of a more earthy feel. So before I do this, I've mixed up some brown. I'm probably going to dab a bit of blue in to get the darker. As you can see, I made this a little darker than out here. But I just realized that before I do that, my water pot is like extremely orange. And I am going to have to do some like dabbing, and anyway, it's not going to help to have a really messy water pot, so I'm going to go rinse that out, get new water. If you're painting along, you may want to do that as well, and I'll be back in a sec. All right, I have my clean water, which I now dip my brush in, suddenly it's dirty again. Got my brown paint that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be dabbing a little bit into this, but you could also dab into some blue to darken it up. I'm going to be pretty loose with this because I liked the way that it was last time. So going loosey loose. Now I do want, so I'm dabbing on a rag, yeah, you can't see, so that the soft edge between the soft fox here and the background, it stays soft. Okay. Paint really carefully because I want to go right to the edge of the ear. Okay, adding in my dark because I'm going right by the face. I want these white colors to pop. A little more brown. A little more blue. Back to the light brown. I'm gonna go out here, down. Trying to leave some white space, make it look a little, I don't know, interesting. Go right in there. Okay, now, wet brush. So I've taken all the color off, and I'm gonna just make sure that this is blended so that it's not affecting. I don't want it to be, you know, go and be this layer and we ruin the beautiful like bleeding edge there of that background. So now if we want any other things, I might just gonna go down like that, covering that space. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna sign it. We're using the same brown right down there. And that's it. You know, if you have any other additions that you want to make to yours, if you're painting along, I think, you know, I like probably the shape of this better. The vibrant oranges popped more on this one. I think the face is way better on this second one, but you know, it's the kind of thing, because it's when you're dealing with wet and wet, so much of it just happens in the moment. And so it's the kind of thing, if you're not happy with the result, go back and try it again. And it will, I don't think you'll ever have a time when both your results are the same. So it'll always be different. All right, and we're done.
Hope you guys enjoyed that. It is Christmas Eve right now, and you can see it's pretty snowy here in Three Hills. We're out on the deck in the snow. I've got Scout here. Whoop, digging holes in the snow, I guess. Not really sure what, but yeah, we're gonna have a great Christmas, and I hope that you guys can too. It'll be very different because of COVID and everything, but enjoy it, and hope to see you guys in the next video.